Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to another edition of PIP, Chris's favorite pen, ink, and paper combinations. I'm trying to get used to calling it that. It's so much easier than the mouthful of the whole thing. So what I have today is a paper, pen, and ink combo that I really love in my bullet journal. So this is a new one that I'll be using when mine runs out. But we'll get right into my actual bullet journal for the writing sample and all of that. What I'm going to do first is show you the pen, talk about the ink and the notebook a little bit, and then we'll look at the water test and the sample tile, and then we'll look at an ink comparison panel, just like when I do an ink review, and at that time probably talk about prices and stuff like that, availability, and then I'll just go on talking about what I like about this. So here we are. Let's start with the pen. This is my TWSBI Mini. I've written with it for a long time now, and I really love it. It's a great little pen that posts, screws to post, and so that does turn it into a nice full-size pen. It's very comfortable to write with. And this is the AL, TWSBI Mini AL, which just means it's the aluminum. It's clear, and it's got that aluminum section, but I find it comfortable to write with, and I haven't had any slipperiness or anything with mine. So this is it. And it's got a I think it's 1.17 milliliter capacity, so it's not as big ink capacity as the as the Diamond 580s, but it's still plenty of ink. I mean, it goes and goes, and it's so easy to. It's a piston filler. It's easy to fill and clean and everything. And anyway, there's a lot more to say about that, but let's talk about the ink. The ink is the Graf Faber Castell Stone Gray, which I have a beautiful 15 mil sample of from a pen friend, and her initials are CM, and this is just the ink splatter. I thought you might enjoy that. It's quite interesting. It's got, you know, it shows off its shading. It's a nice dark gray, and it's darker here than it shows up out of the nib, you know, so don't be afraid. It really doesn't look black at all. And then the notebook is the iconic Leuchtturm 1917 dot grid, which I use. It's my particularly favorite one for bullet journaling. Every single day I'm in it. So, as some of you know, I'm always looking for an ink pen combination that'll work really good in that bullet journal that won't bleed through. So let's talk about that, because that's what I found in this combination. Here's the tile, which is just me, kind of my very first examination of the ink when it comes into me, is I paint it on this watercolor paper, and then I dab it on with a paintbrush, and then take another clean paintbrush and put water. And you can see a lot of water resistance here. Right from the beginning I knew there would be, just by looking at this. That's neat. Your typical thing that happens is something like this, where most of it just washes away. You don't end up with as much, but we'll look at a whole bunch more of those comparisons in a little bit. So well, I'm gonna have to fix the ink panel, but that's for another time. Okay, wrong paper. I did that on Rhodia, but this is actually the one that I did. This is the 20-minute water bath test that I did on the Leuchtturm paper. And you can see it definitely, it's not as dark as it first goes on. Let's see, well, we'll look at that in a minute, because I'm actually writing with something else on those tiles. But you can read every bit of it. It's not bulletproof, but it's very water resistant. So that's amazing, and I really like that. Okay, and then this is the chromatography. Thought we'd do that too. You see that nice line that stays there, and it gets purple-y, kind of. It's very complex, really. It comes out looking complex, and then the water went up above it to about right there. So it was really nice. Okay, so let's see. That's a good start. Let's look at the water sample. We'll be writing sample. I'll be right back with that. Okay, here we are in my bullet journal, which is another of the Leuchtturm 1917 dot grid notebooks that I use every day. I'm getting to the end. This is quite a bit of it is filled up here, but here it is. And I think you can see it definitely looks gray. It doesn't look black to me at all. I love it. It stays true to the color. And it's just super flowy. I think that's what I love the best. Sometimes with some of the inks, this pen can feel dry, even though I know that it's a good nib because I've had such a variety of inks run through it that I know how it can perform. Well, it really is at its best with this ink. And so that's why I wanted to bring it to you. Let's see, there's a whole bunch about price in here, but I'm really not going to talk about that right now. But why I love this combination, I would like to talk about. So, okay, first off, consistently, it flows great. And then there's no bleed through in my bullet journal. Now, with a few of the other inks, even the Pilot Fuyu Shogun, it just kind of depends, you know, and sometimes I got bleed through with that one, and not very much, and it would be in the medium Diamond 580, but still, this is just really showing consistently over a period of time that, yes, it goes, but it doesn't bleed through at all, and I'm just really excited about that. I need that, really, for my bullet journal, so, and then I love the fact that this clear TWSBI Mini is what I would say neutral. You know, I can have in and out any color, and of course gray is another neutral, so it looks really great in here, and there's no clashing of colors or anything like that. I love the size of the pen, and I like the ink capacity. It's way more than what you get in a cartridge, and it's just really, really nice. It's super nice. I'm usually ready to change ink before you know, I run out, but with this size, it's just about right. And then with the gray, I do tend to use those longer. Anyway, I've been looking for my gray ink, and I really think that I may have found it in this. Okay, so it's semi-water resistant ink. That does mean a lot to me, because I have seen what happens when water drips or you have a spill and you lose everything you wrote. Well, you're not gonna with this. It would be a mess, yes, but you can wind up seeing it. I saw that both on the Rhodia. This was the Rhodia 80 GSM, and then this was the Leuchtturm paper. So that's really nice. Okay, and I wrote, the price is fair. Okay, so now we're talking about everything here. Although this pen is at the top of my budget, really, for fountain pens. It's $60. And so I'm really serious about spending that much money on a pen, and I don't do it that often. And then the ink, I found it a couple different places, and I wound up finding it somewhere where it would be 34 cents a mil. But let's wait till we look at our comparison panel, and I'll talk about that more. And then the paper, the reason I consider the paper to be reasonable is because I use one of these books for about a year. For my bullet journal. It works as a planner for me, and I do take notes in it, but not quite as much. It's mostly the weekly spreads, the monthly, the daily listings, and you know, tasks and everything like that, and then with occasional collections. So I don't run through these books very fast, and I consider one of these books $20 for a year's worth of work in it. I love that. And then, I don't know why I put it last, but shading is present. And it gets some nice shading. It's always a little bit varied. Sometimes it'll be really drastic, and sometimes it won't, but I have really enjoyed that aspect. So let me set up, and I will be right back with the comparison panel for the inks. Okay, here we are, and if you've been on my channel for very long at all, it won't be the first time that you've seen gray inks here, because I've profiled some gray inks, reviewed them, and I've also done, you know, intense studying and did a separate video where I talked about gray inks and how I was looking for my Grail gray ink. But here we go, Faber Castell, or Graf von Faber Castell Stone Grays right in the middle. And it's in great company. It's right next to Noodler's Lexington Gray, which is an excellent bulletproof gray. That actually, I would have stopped at Noodler's Lexington Gray, but that tends to bleed through in my Leuchtturm, and I just get it frustrates me because I really love the ink, and on CVS caliber paper it won't go through that paper, so I use that a lot daily for note-taking in CVS caliber, but not in the Leuchtturm. So, and then over here is the Jacques Herbin Gris de Houlet. This ink, I almost purchased it, and I think it's 50 mil for $28 for this one, but I held off for some reason. I felt like I hadn't really done a lengthy enough exploration of all the gray samples that I had. And then along came, you know, a pen friend, CM, sending me this wonderful sample. And so I decided to really delve into it, and I'm so glad I did. I have really enjoyed several of these inks. Diamine Earl Grey, I love it. It's really well behaved. It doesn't have the water resistance though that the Stone Grey has, but it's complex, it's nice and dark, and to me it isn't too dark. I don't mind the darkness of it at all. It's pretty, and it looks nice coming out of those fine and medium nibs. Same with really Pilot Iroshizuku, the Fuyu Shogun, the Old Man Winter down here in the bottom. I love this ink, and it isn't even too light. It comes out okay in my bullet journal, but for some reason I just kept holding off, waiting for some spark of, and I think it may have been, I really believe it's flow. Because we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but I've been trying to work on my criteria for paper, because it kind of all relates with, I have criteria for ink, for pens, and now I have some for paper, and I'll share that with you in a few minutes. But I have extensively written with all of these, and they're all great inks. That's the thing. This is really, really, the one that I haven't given full justice to yet is the Pure Pens. The slate, isn't that gorgeous? That's going to be fun. And so that's what's neat about samples. Of course, I put my Faber-Castell Stone Grey into this little Colorverse because I wanted it all in one place, and it held the 15 mils out of the vials. So that's been fun. But let's see, the only one that I have a full bottle, I have the remaining of Diamine Earl Grey, a little bit left in a 30 mil bottle, and I did purchase the Noodler's Lexington Grey, which I'm going to always use in that CVS caliber. So the remaining thing was finding one that I loved the best for my bullet journal. Let's see, J. Arbonne Stormy Grey, the shimmer ink. I haven't found the pen for that yet. Oh, I'm not getting along with this month's fill, but anyway, that's a story for a report card on another day. But it clogged in the pen. I had it in the TWSBI Go, and I was really surprised, and I flushed it out, and I thought, gee, that's not what happens with the other two in that J. Arbonne shimmer. The two shimmer inks that I do have, the Amethyst de Laurel and the Kyanite du Nepal, don't do that, so I was a little surprised, but I should have known. I've seen it in some reviews. And speaking of ink reviews, I'm going to link you to what I consider to be the best ink review on this Faber-Castell Stone Grey in case you want to take a really deep dive. It was done quite a while ago by Vita, and I just don't think it can be beat. It's a wonderful review, and she shows it on several papers. She thoroughly tested beyond anything I've ever done, and I think it's well worth a watch if you're thinking about this ink. So let's see, jot down in my notes here because I get going in all different directions. Talk about prices and availability. Okay, so let's get this off here and we'll flip it over. I found this ink at Jet Pens, $32 for 75 mil. It's a nice big bottle. That turns out to be about 43 cents a mil, but then I found it at Dromgool's, which is here in Texas, $25.60 for 75 mil. So that brings it down to 34 cents a mil. Didn't look much further because this is just a little beginning exploration. There is another, I did two of these. I don't know why. Maybe I thought the first one was a fluke or something, but they came out very similar on the chromatography. So that's the ink, and then I believe I mentioned that the pen was $60. I got this at Goulet Pens. And then the notebooks, I can find them at my local Barnes & Noble for $19.99, I think it is, and they're available on Amazon, depending on the color and the timing and everything else, but they're right around $20. Sometimes they go lower. Sometimes a certain color will be on clearance or special somewhere, but those are the two places I've found the books, and that's Amazon and my local Barnes & Noble bookstore. So one more thing before we go look at that little chart that I talked about. I wanted to show you something I discovered today. Well, I've had this for a long time because I decided I wanted a good pen sleeve for this TWSBI Mini, and I ordered this from Rickshaw. And when I went to look up to be able to tell you which size it was, in case you have one or want one, you know, a pen sleeve for your TWSBI Mini, what I discovered was that they now had a chart. So that really makes it neat because like for instance, there's the Wankai Moonman Mini, and it tells you which size to order, and it was really helpful. Now let's find the TWSBI Mini. Let's see, there it is. Okay, TWSBI Mini is here, and it's the S short, so that would be the specific size in order to get the right size for this. But I thought, oh, this is helpful. So I printed it out, and it's going to go in my bullet journal. Stuff like that, you know, and I'll have it in my index, and I'll know where it is. So I'll be right back. I'm going to talk to you, just ramble at the end here a little bit for anybody who, you know, would like to listen. There, I'm back. I hope I didn't scare anybody off, but okay. So this is in my bullet journal as well. And what I was working on was kind of transferring my thoughts about my criteria that I've developed over the past almost about 4 years as far as what I love the best about pens, inks, and papers. Now the bottom part I'm still formulating, but we'll talk about that anyway. The top two, I've really been working that out over a long period of time, and I've talked about this before, but I thought it would be fun to kind of think about this combination that I just talked about with you, this TWSBI Mini on Leuchtturm with the Faber Castell Stone Gray. I thought it would be kind of neat to put it to the test and see where did it hit good and where didn't it. So on pens, my first test is reliable. Okay, and definitely this pen is reliable. Affordable, it just barely passes my own personal test for that because it is $60. Smooth, definitely. Right out of the box, this nib was just wonderful. Comfortable, yes it is. Now that would be different for everybody, but I find this pen very comfortable to write with, especially, well, of course, posted. I like it posted. And then here's one for you, swappable nib unit, or nib/unit. Okay. Now granted, this comes right out. It screws out, and it's a nib unit, and they're a little bit pricey, but still you're not locked into another $60 pen if you say, oh, why did I order medium? You know, I really should have ordered broad. Then you can go and order a nib unit. I believe it's right in the $25 range. Don't quote me because I did not look that up today. Okay, but that definitely expands what I can do with a pen, so that makes me like it more when it fits that criteria. So then under bonus, because I just couldn't hold it to 5 things on pens, is it clear or neutral colored? Okay, so to me that means will it go with just about any ink, because I'm one of these fussy people and I don't like to see green ink in a purple pen, and I realize that not everybody's like that. You know, but that's just me. Okay, then the other bonus item under pens is this pen available, or is it some limited edition that I have to have the money very quickly to get? And no, this is an available pen. It's there. So if I had to, like if I lost it, broke it, whatever, and I had to replace it, I'd be able to. It's not limited edition. Okay, so then ink, and too bad I don't have the actual ink bottle that this comes in, because I don't feel comfortable really holding this one up. It's a Colorverse bottle, but okay, we've got the ink over here. So as far as the ink, these are my criteria. I have to like the color and or the saturation, and I love the shade of gray that this turns out. I love it in the splatters and even more coming out of the nib. If I just judged by the splatters and the indexing, I might think, oh, that's too dark, but no, you got to see it in a nib, and here it is. It's in a nib. This is all written with this, and I like it very much. looks kind of pencil-y. Flow. This ink has excellent flow, so yes, it passed that. Price, availability, affordable. Okay, that's like 3 things, but anyway, that's the way my mind works. And yes, I found it for a very reasonable price because I thought that Dromgools, I spelled it wrong, so I had to fix it. It turned out to be 34 cents a mil. That's a nice big bottle, 75 mil, 25.60. That's not too bad. That passes my test for cost on the ink. Whoops. Okay, let's see. Easy to clean out. Yes, yes it is. I have had it in and out of other pens. This happens to be, right now, my favorite pen to have it in. But despite the fact that it has some water resistant, it's well behaved. Shading or complexity, yes, I got shading. Now, I don't right here see that the shading, it's not drastic. It doesn't look like a zebra, but I'm seeing very pleasant medium shading right out of this medium nib. Okay, so then moving along to paper, and of course today we're talking about the very paper that we're on right now. And this is hard. My wording, and as far as getting my criteria for paper, I think it's probably going to be edited. I'm grappling with it because I started working on this just this week. So smooth. Well, you know, obviously that has to do with the nib and the ink too, not just the paper. So it's a little tricky because a lot of papers are smooth but may not feel it once you start writing with whatever pen. Doesn't feel dry. Okay, there are a few papers where I personally have to have my super wettest pens and nibs in order to like the paper, even though it's great paper and is smooth. So I wrote down smooth, but then I put and doesn't feel dry. Okay, no bleed through. Yeah, that's really important to me, but I wouldn't be in a Leuchtturm if that was the only thing that's important, because Leuchtturm is picky. I mean, this paper doesn't like all nib ink combinations, and everybody who's tried it knows that. Okay, shows shading, yes, and this does. You know, this will show off shading in ink very well, this paper. Available to purchase. Again, there are so many notebooks out there, and I'm not going to start naming names, but there are some where you can't get them. They sell out. They're hard to get because there's no availability, or you got to get in some Kickstarter and wait for a year or whatever. And that may be an exaggeration, but you know, geez, I want to be able to get the paper when I need it, and I don't want to be frustrated, and I don't want to have to stockpile paper, not too badly anyway. Okay, affordable and or last long. Okay, so with the case of Leuchtturm, it's certainly not going to rank affordable like CVS Caliber or some of the other cheaper notebooks, but this notebook lasts me almost a year. Let me see when I started this one. I should know it right offhand. It's like it was August 2019? Huh. So I exceeded a year. Okay, I don't know what was wrong with me, because normally I don't exceed a year, but we're okay. Now I'm completely blank, and I'm making an idiot out of myself, but because that doesn't make any sense. Hold on. I'm probably gonna August 2019. We're not in August 2020 yet by any means. Okay, so maybe I'm going through them faster now. It does look like it because I'm not going to make it till August. Okay, so now that's actually good though, because that means I've been using this book more, so I like that. But it kind of shoots me out of the water in terms of telling you that it lasts a year. My other 3 bullet journals lasted about a year. Must be I'm getting more into the swing of things now. So, I don't do math in my head at all, so I'm just sitting here like stunned. So there it is, and I just thought it might be something that you might formulate for yourself, your criteria, and get something out of. So that is the video. What did you think of this combination? I do really love it, and I'm certain that this ink will do just as well in the Eco with a medium nib, you know, and probably several other pens. So I'm looking forward to trying them too. But this struck a really nice chord with me because it fits right here. It's nice and compact. It fits anywhere, and if I'm not taking it this way, then I have my little rickshaw sleeve to put it in to protect it. And this is one of those combinations where it's like I equally love all three elements, the pen, the ink, and the notebook. So that's why I wanted to bring it to you. Sorry for the brain freeze on the dates there. I think what I was trying to do was add. So like see, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. Okay, so I've had 7 months in this, and I'm not sure how much longer. So I guess I froze my brain and got all hung up over, whoops, I may not last a year with this. But perfectionism is for the birds, so I'm not going there. Okay, I'm trying not to anyway. So I'll see you next time, and I hope to hear from you what you thought of this. And anytime, I love to hear about your favorite combinations. I think that this hobby can really be a lifesaver at times, and this is one of them. There's a lot going on, and not just in the United States, everywhere. And I think we can get comfort and friendship and connections and fun with our hobbies when we have time. And I think it matters. I really think it matters. So that's one of the reasons why I keep doing these videos, and I love to connect with you all. So I'll talk to you later. Bye for now. I hope you're well, happy, healthy, and prosperous. Bye for now.